In this lesson, we're going to look at pressure and how to convert between units of pressure. Pressure is determined by the force per unit area, which results from molecules hitting the walls of a container. Remember that gas molecules are moving around in constant motion, and as a result, they collide with the sides of the container, and that's what determines the pressure. The more molecules in a space, the higher the pressure, or the faster the molecules are moving, the higher the pressure. A couple of examples of where we see pressure are when we measure the pressure in a tire, or when we're looking at blood pressure. When we look at blood pressure, we have the systolic and the diastolic because they're measured at two different points in the heartbeat. Let's look at the units of pressure. There are many different units in which we measure pressure, but there are only three that we'll see routinely and that you should know the relationships for. The most common unit of pressure we use in chemistry is in atmospheres. So 1 atmosphere is standard atmospheric pressure, and this is equal to 760 millimeters of mercury, which is also equal to 760 torr. Blood pressure is measured in units of millimeters of mercury. On the graph, you'll see a comparison of the pressure at sea level and on Mount Everest. Notice that there is one number that gives the total pressure, and this includes all of the gas in the air around us, so nitrogen, oxygen, and all the other components. At sea level, it's approximately 1 atmosphere, or 760 millimeters of mercury. On Mount Everest, which is significantly higher than that, it's 250 millimeters of mercury. The diagram also shows the partial pressure, which just shows us the pressure of oxygen both at sea level and on Mount Everest. Let's look at an example for converting between units of pressure. The atmospheric pressure on Mount Everest is 250 millimeters of mercury. What is the pressure in ATM? Like every other dimensional analysis problem, we want to look at what we're starting with and what we're trying to find. We're given 250 millimeters of mercury, and we're asked for ATM. We only have one number given in the problem, and it is a simple unit, so we're going to start with 250 millimeters of mercury in our setup. We know that millimeters of mercury belongs on the bottom of the next step because we want to cancel out those units, so we have 760 millimeters of mercury is equal to 1 atmosphere of pressure. Millimeters of mercury cancel out, and when we do the math, we get 0.33 atmospheres of pressure. Another example where we start with units of atmospheres. The helium tank at the party store had a pressure of 238 atmospheres. What is the pressure in torr? We look for the units we're starting with and the units we're trying to find. We're going to start with our simple unit, which is 238 atmospheres. We know that atmospheres needs to be on the bottom of the next step so that the units will cancel. So 760 torr goes over 1 atmosphere. Units of atmosphere cancel out, and we're left with 1.8 times 10 to the 5th torr of pressure.